Welcome back, everybody, to Raven Song Gaming. This is Raven, and today we are going to jump back in with our Necromancer. I believe this is part 3, so this one's a little longer than the other ones have been, and they will probably be a little longer from here on out, just so this isn't like a 50-part series. The first couple of acts are more... I don't know, they're longer, they're a little bit more in-depth than the final few acts, so trying to kind of blow through some of that content so we can get her into the end game and can work on another hero. Alright, so if you're playing this through the first time and you don't have any characters that are leveled up, there are some things that will be different from what you're seeing on the screen, mainly just because of the fact that you won't have Paragon levels and, you know, just some stuff like that. But I can't really do anything about that, but I do try to make these as true to the first playthrough as possible, so... but like I said before, I can post some of the end game content with, the different characters that I have leveled up as well. I have a demon hunter that finally got leveled up too, so. Oh, I guess we weren't invited to dinner. What a shame. Man. I kind of like my skeleton dudes though, I gotta be honest with you. I love how she just goes, no. No feedback on what I did. I mean, I know what I did. There wasn't a corpse available, but... some of her dialogue is so funny. But overall, I like the Necromancer dialogue quite a bit. Alright. Oh, treasure goblin.
I must have a corpse.
I must have treasure.
I'm afraid not.
I'm afraid so.
I need a corpse.
Should not have opened that door. Yeah. Give me your money. No portal for you.
This creature will die.
Mm-hmm. Hehe. Oh, hello.
I require a corpse for that.
You about to have one.
No.
Yes. When I'm just walking around having these little skeletons, especially because they're all like clattery and stuff, it's a little bit annoying. but I do like having them because they're definitely helpful, especially in levels like this where I'm so low on damage, so... Well, low on everything, really. There you go.
That is not possible. I'm on the mend.
There we go.
I must have a corpse.
All right. Did I miss anything? Over here. I think I probably in some of the later levels won't be doing quite as much walking around the entire place. Because I tend, as I go through the story arc again and again and again, I tend to get impatient and I just want to like get to the end game because that's where most of the cool stuff is. But it is pretty cool to go through and just see if you missed anything, because obviously you get more XP and more gold and stuff if you really actually clear the levels. So it's up to you though, what you want to do.
I require a corpse for that.
Go, go, gadget skeletons. Anybody ever watch Inspector Gadget when you were a kid? Did I just date myself? I loved that show.
Not possible. I need a corpse.
There you go. The bookcases, when they, like if you tear them down, because sometimes they have gold and stuff in them, but it's so anticlimactic. They don't, you don't like swipe them down in a rage, they just like fall. It's kind of funny. But then if you go through a door, it's BAM! Sorry for the mouse clicks, my commentary recording was interrupted as usual. Sorry if this is slightly out of sync moving forward, but I'm going to try to... I mean, there's nothing that I really comment on that happens exactly in a moment, so it should be okay. Also, I thought I would give you just some pros and cons that I have found so far with the Necromancer, especially now that I have had the chance to play through several characters. So the first character that I played all the way through the game with, I was kind of doing the Witch Doctor and then the Demon Hunter simultaneously. And so I play the Demon Hunter with like specific people. So I had to wait to get to 70 until they were playing. But I did get to the end game with a Demon Hunter, so I have like more experience as far as how I like that character. And then obviously I've been in the end game with the Witch Doctor for quite a while now. And the Necromancer's interesting. She's a lot bloodier than I expected. I don't know. I thought it would be more like soul enchanting stuff, you know, like raising skeletons. But there's a lot of, you know, corpse explosions and stuff like that. But I think it's kind of fun, actually. I just wasn't really expecting that. I didn't know what to expect from the Necromancer. A lot of the artwork for the Necromancer was very ethereal. And so I think that's kind of what I was expecting, was for it to be more in that vein. But I do like the versatility of some of the skill sets of the Necromancer. Maintain your incantation. You will soon turn. So with... Hang on. No, they're just chanting. Okay. It's just bad lasagna. Okay. So the Necromancer has a lot of versatility so far that I can tell. The Witch Doctor, for instance, is a lot of... I'll let Tyrael talk.
Soon enough. Help me find my gear. I will reward you well.
Oh, that's not Tyrael.
Tell me, what brought you to this infernal place?
I must slay the Skeleton King.
Then our aims align.
Okay. So the Witch Doctor is a lot of using animals and using sort of like your pets, essentially. And a lot of it is allowing your familiars, I guess, or your companions to run in and do a lot of the damage while you sort of buffer. So that was kind of hard for me to get used to because I haven't really ever played a character like that before. And so I thought I just didn't know what to expect with her. So I eventually got used to it, and in the end game, I have liked her a little bit better. But sometimes I like to be able to get in there and like melee, you know. But a lot of this game, I've noticed, is figuring out what each hero is good at and like where their strengths lie. So the intelligence-based characters, such as the Witch Doctor. And I'm actually not sure if... I think the Necromancer is as well. I'll have to double check later. But the characters that are very intelligence-based, there isn't a lot of melee. They're not really built for that. They're built to sort of, you know, buffer and then to go in and... like, for instance, with the Demon Hunter, I believe she's also intelligence-based. And with her, I can run in, I can like rain arrows down from the sky, and you know, I can do stuff like that. So she's very like archery based. So there is some melee that happens with her where I can run in and do some damage. But the interesting thing is that one of the people that I play with the Demon Hunter is playing the Crusader, who's very strength based. And it's been interesting to watch the difference because that character can just go in and, you know, take people out. But I'm sort of always on the circumference, right? So one of the things you can do is set up a, what is that called? I can't think of what it's called. It's like a sentry, essentially, but there's another name for it. Ooh, level up. There's another name for it, though. And... a turret, and so you can set these automatically firing like bow and arrows down in a circle and then rain down your arrows, and I can like spin in a circle while shooting and stuff like that. So The Demon Hunter so far has been one of my favorite characters because she's a really, well, I'm playing the female version, but she's a really nice balance between intellect and strength. So that's been a lot of fun. The Witch Doctor, like I said, is very sort of, you know, send in your minions to do your work for you, and then just sort of buffer on the outside with, you know, acid rain and fun stuff like that. They're all fun. It's not that I dislike one over the other. It's just, it's interesting because you would think that at this point, having played through the story arc through two times, well, this is my third time through the story arc, it would be boring. And there are some areas where I'm like, yeah, we get it. But for the most part, it's actually a completely different experience every time because it's a different character. And with each character, you get a different angle on the lore as well. Obviously, I'm very story-based and narrative-driven, and so, you know, that's been a lot of fun. To sort of like in the different cutscenes and the different acts and the intermissions. I'm always leaving gold behind. What is wrong with me? But the different intermissions and stuff like that. From the different characters' points of view, it's really interesting. So it's almost like getting more to the story.
Warrior of the Templar Order. If it is the Skeleton King you seek, then you will have to fight your way past John Dar. There is no reason we should hunt alone.
If you insist.
I love her. If you insist. That's how I feel about social interaction too. I relate to that on a spiritual level. Anyway, so the Demon Hunter is also kind of interesting because, but of course it's hard to know how I really feel about a character at this low of a level with her. Obviously I've recorded about 7 or 8 of these episodes ahead. So she's actually at level 30 something right now as I'm recording this. I ultimately decided to record the commentary over the top later because I can't multitask, and listening to me do any sort of commentary while I'm playing. First of all, enough people do that. I feel like if you want that exists, you know. And so I'm probably going to try to end up just picking a topic to discuss and just sort of lay that over the top of, you know, of the gameplay. But yeah, for this one, I'm just sort of chatting about the differences between what I've played so far. But you can't really tell until you get sort of toward the end game, at least, because the characters develop in their skill set and their abilities so vastly. Like, there's the difference between, like, starting a Witch Doctor over, for instance, would probably be such a trip because my Witch Doctor's so leveled up now. I think when I recorded this, I was Paragon level like 62 or something. Obviously you don't earn, well, maybe not obviously, you don't earn Paragon levels with your story arc characters. You only earn those with leveled up characters.
But the will of a Templar is stronger.
But the Templar kind of annoys me, but he's also nice to have around because he kills things, so, you know. Also, I can't get rid of him during this part of the story arc. He's around for a while.
Templar John Dar, how could you succumb to this coven?
The coven is my brotherhood now. The powers we serve will soon rule this world.
Kill him. Right. I do try not to talk over the top of the dialogue because I know a lot of people
That is not possible.
like that.
Please forgive me. My vision was clouded by the coven's evil magic.
Betrayal can never be forgiven. Thank you for your aid. I will go with you on your hunt for the Skeleton King. But there is one condition. If we find the sacred tomes of my order, they are mine.
Do as you please. Such books do not interest me.
Then onwards we go to fight the Skeleton King.
Oh. All right. Yeah, I guess we'll keep you around for a little bit.
May the battles never end.
One thing that I will mention here, which I'm not doing. Oh, I am doing it. Okay. Whenever you later you can hire on followers like the Templar and the Enchantress, I think, and Scoundrel. There's a few. But when you get followers, always make sure you're updating their stuff and their skills, because they'll do more for you if you do that.
I do not understand how evil walks in the day. Should it not fear the light?
You possess only a limited understanding of these forces.
But the light is both a literal and figurative foe of evil. Well chosen.
The Necromancer is so sarcastic, and I love her because she basically is just like, you're dumb.
I will use it well.
Anyway. So yeah, okay, I don't think anybody's talking anymore for a minute. Anyway, so the Paragon levels you earn when you're in the end game. So I can now earn Paragon levels with the Witch Doctor and the Demon Hunter, which is kind of nice. So once you get to level 70, the game, quote unquote, as far as like the campaign, the story arc is over. But then you start earning Paragon levels. And if you see in the middle of the screen right above that sort of toolbar at the bottom, there's a glowing, pulsing cross. That means I have Paragon points to spend. So you get points for every level, every Paragon level in the end game. And then you can spend those points on things like defense, offense, core, stuff like that. And all of that is really cool. So that significantly helps your character. And then you get better gear and you get better stuff like that. So it's really difficult to know how you feel about a hero or a character until you get to the end game. Was my point before we were interrupted by the Templar. Sorry about that ding too. I think when I was recording the computer audio for this, I got a messenger message. I forgot to close that screen down when I was recording. But now I use GeForce instead of OBS because it allows me to just take the game audio instead of all of the computer audio, I believe. I'll find out in the next couple episodes. Excuse me. But yeah, I think it's important to give your character some time before you decide whether or not you like them or not. I also started playing World of Warcraft recently, and I'm considering a couple other Blizzard games, so. I know some people would probably have me jump around instead of just going all the way through on a playlist, but if it's something that's more open world like World of Warcraft, I can understand that. That I'll probably do in bits and pieces. But something with a story arc and all the different characters, I want to have all of these playlists done by the time, well, I was going to say by the time Diablo 4 comes out. I don't think that they're even planning on having it out next year at this point because COVID slowed so many things down. But either way, it'll be nice to have that up there. I know it's like nostalgic probably for a lot of people, even though this is my first experience with the game. But I know a lot of people are watching this just for nostalgia because the game's been out for like a decade, so. Which it's hard to believe it's been out for a decade because this game is so pretty. Like, it looks so good.
My essence is too low.
Even for being that old, so.
I'm afraid not. Your death nears. I have trained well. I'm afraid not. This magic bodes ill. No.
Food fight.
That is not possible.
So this is kind of a good example of what I mean by having your minions do the melee and then you standing on the outside and just sort of buffering. That battle that just happened in the circle there is a pretty good example of that. So Demon Hunter is a lot like that. Witch Doctor is a lot like that. Sorry, Demon Hunter. Necromancer is a lot like that. And the Witch Doctor is very much like that. I feel like the Demon Hunter gives you a better... like a better balance, like I was mentioning before. So if you're somebody who likes to just have your companions go in and kill things, well, not the Templar, he's kind of useless, but like the skeletons, or like I have a big gargantuan zombie thing for the Witch Doctor, and I have fire zombie dogs, kind of cool. So yeah, the Demon Hunter can also have a pet. Actually a raven, which is kind of awesome.
I must have a call.
You can also have a spider or a wolf or a ferret. Haven't tried the ferret yet. Not really sure what that's supposed to do, but okay. But yeah, if you prefer a balance, I mean, if you like to stand on the outside and just sort of buffer and assist, then I think you would like the Necromancer, and you'd probably like the Witch Doctor as well. If you are less into the magic and the buffering and the sort of, I don't know, offensive or defensive stuff like that, and you want to really get in and melee people, but you also like the spell casty sort of stuff, I think the Demon Hunter is a good option. At least that's my opinion as of right now. Because the Demon Hunter, like I said, can do both. Like you can get in there with bows and arrows and do a lot of archery, but then there's also a lot of like setting up sentries and turrets and stuff like that. And playing with other people who are different characters is also a lot of fun, because then you can figure out sort of how your heroes and your characters work together. Like I was mentioning, so one of the people that I play the Demon Hunter with, their character has a skill where it basically crowds all of the enemies into the center. And then I have the skill with the Demon Hunter. I think I said they're playing a Crusader. I don't know if I mentioned that. So they have a skill where they can gather, essentially it like draws all of the enemies into the center. And then I can set up sentries on the outside, the turrets on the outside, so they can't really go anywhere because they get shot at. And then I can like rain arrows down. So it's cool to play with people who have different skill sets, especially if you're around the same level. It gets it gets a little different when you have people who can play at much higher levels than you, just because of the fact that at a certain point you're just going to be following them around. But because they're going to be able to do so much more than you'll be able to do. And there are rifts and things like that in the end game that if you I mean, it can be fun because you get the XP because you're on the same party. So if you want to power level your character, I mean, I did that with the Witch Doctor. I tagged along with someone who was playing like Torment 4 or something. It's like a really high level, and I was not even at expert, I don't think, at this point. And so, I mean, I died a lot, but I also like leveled up quite a lot. So this is another good example on screen of like buffering. I like to sort of force my enemies through like a choke. A bottleneck. I was trying to think of like where it sort of like chokes them so that they can't like mob you, you know. But if you can get them into bottlenecks like that, and then let your pets and stuff and your companions go in and do some of the damage, and then you can sort of buffer. You can sort of quell how many are coming at you at one time. So it's really helpful on. There's not always an opportunity to do that, but if you can, it's a good opportunity because, like getting them all to come to the entrance of a bridge, or because once you engage enemies, they'll follow you. So if you get them into a doorway, or if you get them, you know, like I said, into a bridge crossing or somewhere where they can't surround you, and then you can pick them off kind of one by one. And if you have like pets or followers or things like the skeletons or the dogs or whatever that go in and kind of do a lot of the melee for you, you can step back and sort of get the ones that get through. And then it's a much more controlled way of killing off enemies, especially when you don't have a lot of brute force to work with. So that's another tactic. And then I think, like I mentioned in the last episode, when you have a situation like this where you do have a room full, sometimes it's kind of fun, or even like if you're in the middle of a field, it can be fun to sort of engage all of them and then bring them to the center. And then if you have something like raining arrows or exploding corpses or things like that, once they're all together, you can damage them all at once. So there's a lot of...
My beloved king lost all pretense of sanity. He seethed with rage, spitting curses upon us as traitors. With great sorrow, I ran him through.
Okay, wanted to let the lore play out there. But that's another tactic you can use.
I'm afraid not.
Learning how your character's skills layer and how they work together, and especially eventually how they work with your armor. Like you'll get in the end game, toward the end game, you'll get like legendary pieces of armor and stuff like that. And a lot of those pieces of armor or weapons or whatever, jewelry, amulets, things like that, you'll get a bunch of things that will say things like, you know, the damage you do with this weapon, for instance, the radius of your damage will increase based on your gold pickup radius, which is a paragon thing that you can work on. And there's also other things.
My insight grows.
Level up. Different gems and stuff like that will, like legendary gems and stuff, and just regular gems that you can put into sockets on different armor and weapons and things. They will sometimes say like increase gold pickup radius. So if you have a couple things working for you to increase your gold pickup radius, and then you have a weapon that says that the damage radius of that weapon is dependent upon your gold pickup radius, then you can layer those to create obviously a more powerful setup and a more powerful build. I don't know if I explained that very well. It's kind of hard without being able to show you, so maybe I'll do some videos like that too, where I just show you different things that are shorter but demonstrating a point. See, that's a good example right there too, when you have when you can get all of your enemies right close around you like that, and then you have something like exploding corpses, you can just start blowing things up and get rid of them pretty quickly.
No.
Keep your distance from him. This burden is mine to bear. May death bring peace from your madness, Leoric.
Traitors! Even in death, the armies of Condorus will still obey their king, even if you will not.
Whoa. Excuse me for my trashy voice today.
You dare to bring the warmth of life into my tomb?
Yep, I do dare.
We shall put you down, hell.
What is that skeleton doing in the upper corner? It's like, come on, engage. What are you doing?
I'm afraid not. I must heal. No. I'm afraid
I
not.
have to wait for a body. Sometimes that's frustrating. But this here is a good example, like I was mentioning before, of sort of hanging back and letting your minions do the work, and then buffering with attacks that are sort of from a distance. So you'll start to notice as you go through the different ways that different characters behave and what they're good at, like I mentioned before. I'm sure a lot of this is repetitive for some of you, but if you're new to the game like me, then maybe some of these tips will be helpful.
Useful skill.
It's also helpful to upgrade your stuff like I'm doing here at the first available opportunity. I know sometimes it slows down the gameplay, but that is part of the gameplay. You always want to be upgrading your stuff so that you have the best chance of kicking butt, you know? Also, the sort of levels of your gear are color coded, so if there's no color behind it at all, it's not magical. The blue ones are sort of like the lower level. The yellow ones are I can't remember, rare. They're rare items, so they're like a step above the blue. And then the ones with the brown in the background are legendary. And sometimes you can get ancient legendary, or and there's eventually, I think it's more in the end game, but there's green, and those are set items. And if you combine a bunch of the different set items together, they give you different benefits. They kind of work together and layer together. And there are also ancient set items, so that's what all the different colors mean if you weren't aware.
We have just arrived in Tristram, and I must say, I'm a bit dismayed. This place is a backwater filled with serfs and an ancient broken-down monastery, hardly fit for the King of Condorus. I cannot fathom why Lazarus was so intent on this becoming our new seat of power.
I'm glad that fate has brought us together on this path.
Why is that?
You fight with both honor and ferocity. I know that a pure soul must burn within
you. I'm afraid not.
I know that's not a reply to him, but it cracks me up when that I'm afraid not comes after he says something. You must have a pure soul. I'm afraid not. It's kind of funny how the dialogue works out sometimes. Finally. Ooh, shiny.
You will never defeat me!
I will.
You were defeated the moment you surrendered to madness.
Hopefully the audio on this is better as well. I think recording after the fact is going to make it both more interesting, even though, like I mentioned from day one, my style here is pretty chatty and laid back, but I think it will also make it a lot clearer and hopefully higher quality audio, because I won't have to worry quite so much about just some of the issues that come with trying to record both at the same time. I can edit when there's less noise and stuff like that in the background, and so we'll see how that works. Ooh, we made him big mad. I hate the bosses that move, like, that teleport, like, from one place to another. Most of them do. It's so obnoxious. I'm like, come on, stand here and fight me.
I'm afraid not. I'm losing strength. I can't do that.
Go, little skeletal minions.
That is not possible. The crater. This is unexpected. How did you come here?
I remember falling.
Who are you?
I am not your enemy. I think. Yes, I believe I have come with a warning. The darkness. The darkness is coming. I don't remember.
We must get to safety. Then we will find answers.
Alright. Sorry, I had
Turning to town.
mute my mic there for a second. Because my dog was barking like crazy.
I believed it was a fallen star. But in truth, it was only a man. And of course, his memories have vanished. Perhaps Deckard Cain will know more.
Alright, back in New Tristram. Let's see. Let's upgrade some of the stuff.
I found him in the crater.
No man could survive such a thing. Who are you? What are you? A warrior, I think. I came bearing grave news, but I cannot remember. Your message might be all that can save us from impending doom.
Okay. Alright. So, the Book of Cain, if you get anything that has like a question mark over it, you gotta click on that Book of Cain. It's in every like home base, and it'll identify it for you. Just upgrading some of my stuff here, and then in a couple minutes we will close down this episode, and we'll get ready for the next one. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying this series so far. I do hope the audio is better on this episode, and hopefully it's synced up. I'm still working out some of the kinks with that. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do that. So, you know, if it is not quite up to par, I apologize. I am still working that out. I have my setup for narration pretty well locked in, so I kind of know what I'm doing with that. But this is just sort of a different format, and I haven't quite figured out how I want to do everything. So apologies if, you know, there are still some kinks to be worked out, but hopefully it's entertaining or relaxing or gives you something to put on in the background and sort of hang out with, and whatever it is that you're watching this series for. The initial levels of every character, I suppose, are always going to be kind of, you know, a little slow. But when you get toward the end game stuff, it's a lot better. Oh yeah, and always go to your blacksmith and repair your tools and stuff and your armor before you go to the next thing. I think I'll go ahead and sell that one. I think is what I ended up doing with that. Yeah. Be careful when you melt down legendary stuff, but if you really don't need it, you get like Forgotten Souls or whatever that said, and that's super helpful. So, all right. So that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and we will continue with this series very shortly. I have through episodes 7 or 8, I think, already recorded. So I will see you guys in like a day or so, hopefully, and we will continue on with this. Be sure to subscribe, of course, if you like this kind of content and if you want to see more. And you can check out my horror narration channel, which is always going to be linked below as well. See you guys in the next one. Bye for now.